Back in 1984, Wes Craven asked the world, what if your dreams could kill you? Thus spawning an iconic franchise backed by one of the most legendary horror characters of all time. But how is this movie holding up these days? What's up everybody, I'm Trap, and I love talking about movies. And as you've rightfully assumed by the title of this video, today we're chatting all about 1984's A Nightmare on Elm Street. This was written and directed by the late and great Wes Craven, and it swept the world off its feet. With a budget of $1,800,000, this film raked in over $57 million in global box office revenue, and it spawned an entire franchise which put the production company New Line Cinema on the map. The franchise is, well, I guess we'll get into that as we cover more of these movies. So the plot follows teenagers of Springwood as they start experiencing nightmares of this burned-looking man with a glove of finger knives. They start to realize if he kills you in your dream, he kills you for real. Nancy Thompson becomes the unlikely hero here as she tries to figure out the truth and tries to stop this guy before he claims her and her friends one by one. So I'm excited. Let's get right into this. The good stuff. So let's get the two obvious ones out of the way quick here. Freddy Krueger, in my opinion, is one of the most creative horror antagonists ever put to film. People who don't even watch horror movies can see a silhouette of Freddy and immediately know exactly who he is. He's that iconic. Heather Langenkamp as Nancy is a strong, resourceful, final girl who doesn't just run screaming, she's an absolute powerhouse. Alright, so the idea of being hunted in your dreams is as terrifying now as it was back in 1984. Everybody sleeps. Movies will sometimes take a common item, action, or animal and try to turn it on its head to play with people's fears, like Jaws did with oceans, Cujo did with dogs, or The Happening did with wind or plants. I don't know. But no matter what, everybody has to fall asleep. This film has some seriously inventive kills too. Even with a modest budget, Craven found a way to stage some unforgettable moments that are still crazy to this day. The film's got great atmosphere too. The constant blending between dream state and real life keeps you uneasy at all times. You're never really sure if what you're seeing is really happening or if someone's dreaming. And now, the bad stuff. I don't have much to say here, but I will say this. There's some, not a lot, but some kind of stiff acting here. Not all the performances match what we get from Langenkamp and Englund. There's a few moments where the effects look a bit dated, but in saying that, in my opinion, they still hold up great to this day. They're just awesome. I'll take some slightly dated practical effects over ridiculous CGI any day of the week. But there is that shot at the end. If you've seen this, you know what I'm talking about. So overall, I'm giving A Nightmare on Elm Street a 4.5 out of 5. It's creative, terrifying, and it changed horror forever. Being essentially a slasher film, but with psychological horror and even some paranormal horror in there, the movie is just damn near perfect. The core concept and Freddy himself will always remain timeless. But hey, that's just me. What do you guys think about A Nightmare on Elm Street? Does it still hold up for you, or has time dulled its little finger knives? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about this. By the way, if you've seen the film, stick around. I'm going to be getting into a spoiler chat here in a minute. If you're new here, welcome. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It would really help out this growing channel. I'd really appreciate it. So that's my spoiler-free take. If somehow you found this video and clicked on it, and you haven't seen the movie, just go watch it. Then come back and we can really chat about this thing. But there's your warning. Alright, so this movie is, I gotta say, one of my lifelong favorite movies of all time. The concept is so incredible, and Freddy is my favorite horror icon. Some of the imagery in this movie still sticks with me today. Unfortunately, I feel like this is one of the only times we ever really get to see some truly creative and interesting ways to utilize Freddy, his abilities, and this whole dream state approach. It's not the only nightmare movie that I enjoy, but when I think of this franchise, I of course initially think of this movie, and then I just kind of feel a little bummed out about what we got with everything else. But that's talk for another video. This movie rocks. After getting our initial introduction to the characters and the setting, the first big moment we get is a huge one. I gotta say, Tina's death is still one of my favorite deaths in any movie. I also love the sequence leading up to it. It really shows our antagonist kind of toying around with her a bit. His arm stretching out across the street is one of those effects that I mentioned earlier that look a bit dated, but the idea is so out there and weird that it doesn't even bother me. We see a glimpse of his sixth sense of humor, the way he cuts off his own fingers, and even just the way he jumps from behind that really thin tree is such an awesome idea and effect in its own. But Tina's death is what really rattled my poor little brain as a kid, knowing that she's asleep and she's being killed in real life and she can't do anything about it. And that feeling of helplessness carries over to her boyfriend, who can't do anything but stand there and watch this horror unfold in front of him. The way she gets tossed around from wall to ceiling to wall, all while being slashed up, is so disturbing. It must have been groundbreaking when it came out. It's nice we get John Saxon, who will always be Roper to me. We get a nice performance from him. We get Johnny Depp's feature film debut, and we even get Lynn Shay as the teacher of the school. It's always nice to see her not being strangled. Speaking of the school, another moment we get that really freaked me out as a kid is the high school dream sequence. Seeing the way the body gets drug around by an unseen force and all the other eerie imagery we get in that scene, that's the kind of stuff that really makes me love this movie. You just don't get creepy original ideas like this much anymore these days. I really like the reveal we get that the town's parents have some history with Freddy Krueger. When the world's greatest mom pulls his glove out of the furnace and explains that they killed this creep years ago, and we know what he's capable of doing now, we get this humongous feeling of, oh shit, this guy's not going to stop. There is, of course, other huge moments in this film, like Freddy stretching through the wall, which still looks great, the iconic shot of his glove coming up out of the bathtub water, the weird, freaky phone tongue thing, and of course Johnny Depp's over-the-top death. I love the death blood fountain we get pulled off in that scene there, and the expressions on the investigators' faces after the fact were just priceless. But with all these gruesome and inventive deaths throughout this film, you know who I feel the worst for? Rod. This guy gets screwed so hard. Not only does he have to watch the horrible death of his girlfriend, he runs away because he knows he'll look guilty if he sticks around, and while trying to reach out to Nancy to explain himself, he gets busted by the cops. Then, while in his cell, Freddy murders him, staging it to look like a suicide, making him look all the more guilty for something he didn't do. And I always wondered why this idea of Freddy staging deaths as suicides wasn't utilized more throughout the films. I guess at the end of the day, and with what eventually gets implemented heavily in Freddy vs. Jason, if that's even canon, is that Freddy's trying to instill fear into these poor teenagers because that's where he gets his strength. But if I were Nancy, this would honestly make me more afraid. The fact that someone can kill me and make it look like I did it myself, that would be even more terrifying. Then you'd know that no one would ever look further into your death and your story's just done. Maybe that doesn't give the type or amount of fear that Freddy's looking for, but either way, I always thought it'd be cool to see more of that in the other films. And maybe there is and I'm forgetting something, but nothing's coming to mind right now. I have to rewatch some of those later ones again. I really enjoyed Nancy as a character. She's probably my favorite final girl. In saying that though, the third act of the film does start to feel a bit goofy. Even as a kid, first time watcher, I was noticing it. The whole booby trap setups feel a bit too Scooby-Doo for me, but I mean, I get it. What else could she do, right? Then there's Marge, Mom of the Year. Up to this point, she's been nothing but a loving, caring, just all-around joy to see on screen, but her death is dumb and weird? I don't know. It takes me out of the moment, and I never really get to come back to it through the end of this film. It becomes less frustrating and more comical as years go by, but I still don't really enjoy it. We see Freddy's weakness without fear come to shine when Nancy turns her back on him like a total badass, and then we get to that final scene. I've seen all the alternate takes, and I guess I see why they stuck with this one. They're trying to give us one last unexpected scare, but to be honest, if we got an ending where nothing happens to Marge, and the kids take off and you just see the roof of the car with the Freddy stripes, or maybe even if the car started acting up the way it does, it would have left us wondering what was actually real with Marge, which is kind of a big point of the entire film, is like what's real, what's not. I don't understand why they felt that this was worth keeping in the film at the end of the day. I can't imagine it scaring anybody, and even for the time it was released, it must have been hilariously bad looking still. But in all, like I said, this will always be one of my favorite films of all time. Alright, that's all I got. Again, if you guys enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And remember, if you pull a hat out of your dream, time to call a therapist. See you guys next time.